Very happy to be welcoming to In the Sulky Dave Little, but he's not new. He's new maybe for In the Sulky and at the Morning Line Maker, and you can see the comment man in the program. Dave, how did you get the gig here, and where you been?
Well, you know, I've been at the Daily News for the last 24 years, Bob. And at the end of the line there, my editors weren't interested in harness racing anymore. July of 2014, the axe came on the Monticello entries and results, the Yonkers entries and results, and the Meadowlands entries and results. And it really always amazed me, given the proximity that the Meadowlands has to Manhattan, how my bosses could opt for that. But that was just something that they really felt strongly about. They wanted to save that newsprint for other stuff. What I don't understand is how you could opt to have a San Jose Sharks, Vancouver Canucks summary in the paper and not have Meadowlands graded entries. That kind of threw me at the end of my newspaper career.
Especially when you consider that through the years, there was a time when there were 6 or 8 or 10 newspapers covering nightly in New York during the salad days. So obviously it's not that, but that was kind of tough to take. But we're glad to have you on board here. Now, what's it been like so far for you here doing it?
Well, you know, the morning line is a thankless pursuit, but at the same time, it's really challenging. Right off the bat, I see a horse that I have at 40-1. He's a 3-1 out there. I mean, you can't miss by more than that. There are definitely going to be times when I'm not going to be on the board. But what you're trying to do with the morning line, at least what I'm going to try to accomplish, is to give people an indicator of who's going to take the money. So I may not necessarily put a horse at 6-5 in the morning line. He might be 5-2 in the morning line. But if I can consistently give out the first and second choice, I think I'm doing my job.
For those Meadowlands pioneers, Charlie Singer was the first morning line maker here. He did it for over a dozen years. And what a precedent Charlie set. A guy, the consummate harness guy who knew everything, and it reflected in his morning line.
No, there's no question about it. You know, my best friend, readers might know from the Bergen Record, Dave Henry was maybe the finest picker of winners at the Meadowlands in the history of this racetrack. And the other day we were talking about Charlie Singer, and he said to me, you know, Charlie Singer, he might have done the morning line better than anybody's ever done anything. Strong words indeed, and I think he might be right.
Yeah, you know, there are some issues we want to, to kick around with you. How about the horse shortage? You know, there's not as many horses as there used to be. How's that going to play?
Well, it's going to play very, very poorly because what you have is a situation where you have a track like the Meadowlands, the preeminent track in the sport, and they're only racing twice a week, and yet you have other tracks around them who are racing 4 and 5 times a week, and yet they're offering purses that are double and triple what the Meadowlands is, but the Meadowlands is betting 4 to 5 times what they are. So the whole structure of the game has really been eschewed by the fact that it's very difficult to fill races. Why do guys want to race at Pocono instead of the Meadowlands? Because Pocono is offering a $20,000 purse, and the Meadowlands is offering a $10,000 purse. The horsemen have to go where they can make the money. I interviewed Mark Ford last week, and he couldn't have been more succinct about this. He said, look, Dave, I'd love to race at the Meadowlands all the time, but I got to follow the money.
But Anthony Napolitano sat right here and told me there's still nothing quite like winning at the Meadowlands. And he said people from all over got in touch with him when he started doing well here. When he won 5 at Pocono and some other tracks, it wasn't a big deal. He says, this still matters more than any other track. So how could that be?
You know, it really is hard to say. The horsemen still find the Meadowlands and winning at the Meadowlands to be of a great thrill. Ford told me the same thing. Napolitano told you the same thing. I did a piece for Harness Racing Update on Joe Bongiorno about 6 weeks ago. He said the same thing, and he's ripping it up in Northfield Park against the likes of Aaron Merriman and Ron Wren. So you know that people really care about winning here.
And Randy Waples said the same thing, too. If you haven't done it at the Meadowlands, you really haven't done it at all. How about the young drivers? 41 horses tonight, driven by a driver under 30. Right now, Scotty Zeron is a leading driver, and you want to know the last time a driver under 30 led at the Meadowlands for the entire meet? John Campbell, 29 in 1984. 32 years ago. What do you think of that?
You know, Scotty is one of the guys who is a member of who I call, Bob, the 10% Brigade. And 10% is not a bad percentage to win at here at the Meadowlands. Why? Because it's so incredibly competitive. You got guys like Brett Miller, and you got David Miller, and you got Yannick when he's here not racing at Yonkers for the bigger green. This driver colony from top to bottom is so stacked that in the old days you could even argue that even in the Campbell O'Donnell era that it was top heavy with guys at the top of the standings and you didn't have as much meat in the middle. Here we got meat top to bottom, and that's why you can bet horses with a lot of confidence even at 8, 10, and 12-1.
You know, with baseball season opening, 25-man rosters, some guys got to do everything. Dave Little, you do some race calling in a pinch. Could we have you in the booth too here?
Well, I don't see any reason why not. You know, I've told Mr. Settlemore that if he needs an emergency announcer, I'm there for him. But for now, I'll take my gigs. I call the Grand Circuit meeting up at Goshen Historic Track and also at a little county fair track up in the sticks of Vermont. race calling to me is a really fun pursuit. And I had a chance to get a job back in 1991, of all things, at Freehold Racetrack. It didn't pan out, but the way things went, everything's going okay.
But you just lowballed it there. Didn't you call the Zweig at Syracuse too?
I did. In fact, I called a couple of Zweigs, and I kidded with Chuck Sylvester. He had David Raymond, and he also had Muscles Yankee. And I said, yeah, well, you're going to send Muscles Yankee up there, right, so I can call the race? And he just had a laugh about that. But he sent David Raymond there, and he won very impressively, as I recall.
Dave, are we doing enough with our stars in the sport? I mean, California Chrome, American Pharoah are everywhere. You just saw him win the $10 million race, Triple Crown. We had Wiggle and Jiggle It win on Monday, out of town, and it was somewhat in anonymity. Tonight, J.O. Cruz is back. The best older trotter, maybe the best trotter in the world last year, and he's back tonight making his first start.
And for a sport that's obsessed with the teletimer, Bob, how could you not promote J.L. Cruz being here? He's the only horse in the history of the Meadowlands, the vaunted Meadowlands, to go in sub 150. We're not doing enough because, yes, everybody's California Chrome is on the tip of the lips of everybody. That horse just won the Dubai World Cup. We have American Pharoah. We just won the Triple Crown. Nobody knows who Wiggle It Jiggle It is if you went out into the public. We have to do a better job of promoting our stars, without question, but we've been saying it for years.
Before we let you get ready to watch the races and the replays, I know you're watching everything. Favorite race, Meadowlands of all time?
There's really no question in my mind. My favorite race of all time was the race-off between Probe and Park Avenue Joe, the 1989 Hamiltonian. Tom Durkin did everything so perfectly with the race call. And as you know, Bob, they hit the wire together, and that created what?
That created, not only was it a dead heat, for those people who don't remember the Hambo 27 years ago, the only race in Meadowlands history where every ticket sold was a winner. Every ticket sold on that race, you won, because two horses, no exacta, win only. They both won, creating a minus pool in the win pool. Dave, we'll get you back to the races here tonight. We might have a little rain, a couple of variables, but it's good to have you on board. Glad to have you back, and good luck.
Bobby, I'm really glad to be here, and so glad to be a part of the team here at the Meadowlands. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Dave.